When the facts bend reality, this is beyond plausible.
The photograph was taken in 1972, but the girl in the center didn't exist. Sarah Miller was declared missing in 1968, 4 years before this image was developed. Yet here she is, smiling from a family picnic that never happened, wearing the exact dress she was buried in. The air in the darkroom grew thick with the scent of ozone and developing chemicals that morning. The photographer felt a sticky dampness on the back of the print, like cold sweat from a palm that wasn't there. He heard a faint scratching from the negative carrier, a sound like small fingernails on glass. A primal dread took hold as he realized the girl in the photo was now looking directly at him, her head tilted at an impossible angle. This is not a memory captured on film. This is something that followed the light back through the lens. The photograph was tossed into the fire. It curled and blackened, but for an instant, the image on it seemed to shift. They tried to burn every last one of them, because the photograph doesn't lie. The air grew heavy with the scent of ozone and burnt paper. In that fleeting moment, something in the photograph moved against the flames, and what it reveals is impossible. Sarah Miller isn't 7 years old, according to the village archives, the church registry, and the headstone in the local graveyard. Sarah Miller died in 1891 at the age of 84. Our story doesn't begin with fire. It begins with a letter, October 2018. In the University of Edinburgh's archives, postgrad researcher Michael Thorne was immersed in dusty folklore when a package arrived, postmarked from Coven's Hollow, Vermont. Inside, he found no note, just a stack of 37 photographs, their edges worn and yellowed, spanning from the 1920s to the 1990s. The air in the room grew heavy with the scent of aged paper and something faintly metallic, like old blood. Each image felt cold and damp to the touch, as if they'd been stored somewhere perpetually wet and forgotten. And on the back of the topmost photograph, a single line of hurried script. They are going the wrong way. Michael, a man who trusted logic above all, studied the images under the lamplight. The cozy scenes of village life should have been comforting, but a subtle wrongness began to prickle at his senses. The air in the room grew still, carrying the faint scent of old paper and a metallic hint of dread. He was a man of dates and documents, a keeper of records who trusted only what could be verified. At first, he dismissed the pattern as an elaborate hoax, a trick of the light, or a cruel prank, but the evidence was undeniable. The same hawk-nosed elderly face, frozen in time, stared back from a 1923 photograph. The recurrence was not a mistake. It was a deliberate, impossible echo across the decades. In a 1948 Harvest Festival photograph, the same man, now middle-aged. Then, as a young man in 1961. Finally, as a boy of no more than 10, grinning on a porch step in a photo dated 1979. Michael's voice, recorded on a dictaphone, crackles with static. Logically, it's a family line, but the air in the room grew thick with the scent of aged paper and something faintly metallic. The logical explanation felt like a thin sheet of ice over a bottomless, dark pool. Grandfather, father, son, grandson. A bloodline bound by unyielding genetics. That's all Michael could deduce, circling their faces with a marker, labeling them Subject A. He repeated the chilling process with others, like Subject B, an elderly woman captured in 1958. Her image reversed time, becoming a young girl over 6 decades, defying every natural law. Subject C. Subject D. His marker now skitters across the page, frantic and unhinged. The cold, damp logic of his investigation began to fester and rot. He tried to anchor himself, cross-referencing the few visible street signs against the map. His only fixed point was the church's unique Gothic spire, a dark silhouette piercing the low, iron-scented sky. Coven's Hollow was a village so small it barely registered on digital maps, known only for its exceptional apple cider and the residents' fanatical privacy. Off-grid before off-grid was cool, Michael told his girlfriend Chloe, the words carrying a weight of both admiration and unease. The air carried the faint, sweet scent of fermenting apples mixed with something earthy, damp soil and decaying wood. He needed to see this place for himself, this hidden village that seemed to exist in a pocket of forgotten time. Michael's car descended into a valley, the road narrowing between clutching trees. Coven's Hollow unfolded below, a diorama of white clapboard houses and manicured gardens under an oppressive quiet. The air grew thick, carrying the cloying scent of apples gone to rot. It was a postcard scene of perfection, and every instinct whispered it was wrong. The first thing Michael noticed was the silence. No children laughing, no dogs barking. The second thing was the eyes. The villagers' polite gestures felt hollow, their gazes flat and watchful as stones in a deep well. The elderly from his earliest photos had vanished, replaced by vibrant middle-aged adults and silent teenagers. An unsettling number of very young children moved quietly among them, their stillness unnatural. Chloe's tinny voice crackled through the phone. So, what was once a quiet retirement community had been taken over by young families. Michael whispered into his phone, Chloe, the children, they don't play, they just watch. His breakthrough came at the village's lone cemetery, where the air smelled of damp earth and decay. The headstones were ancient and thick with moss, their inscriptions worn smooth by centuries. Every single death in the cemetery ended in the late 1800s. Not a single record in the 20th or 21st century. As he traced the name, Eleanor Vickers, 1807 to 1891, a sudden, sharp tug pulled at his coat. He turned to find a little girl, no more than 6, standing silently beside him. The air grew thick with the scent of damp earth and something metallic, like old iron. A little girl spoke in a chilling monotone. "You shouldn't be here." Grandmother says, the pictures steal time. Before Michael could form a response, a severe woman with silver hair materialized beside her, gripping the child's shoulder. The woman's smile didn't reach her cold eyes as she said, "Pay no mind. She has an active imagination," she finished. The air suddenly thick with the scent of old paper and dust. "The historian is the only visitor we ever see. You should attend the Founders' Day gathering tonight. It's at the old meeting hall." That evening, the hall is lit only by lanterns. The air inside is thick with the scent of old wood smoke and damp wool. The villagers mingled, their movements precise and practiced, like actors in a grim play. Michael felt a small, cold hand slip into his own. It was the same little girl, her touch like damp parchment. She pointed a slender finger toward a middle-aged man laughing too loudly by the punch bowl. "That's my brother, Thomas," she whispered, her voice a dry rustle. "He was the town blacksmith. He makes the best cider now." The words landed like a physical blow. Michael's stomach lurched. The use of the present tense felt utterly wrong. Her finger pointed to a faded portrait on the wall, a 19th century depiction of the village blacksmith. The face in the portrait was a perfect match for the man currently standing by the punch bowl, chatting amiably. A sickly sweet smell of cider suddenly filled the air, thick and cloying, as the impossible truth settled over him. It was Subject A. This man wasn't aging backward through generations. He was growing younger within his own lifetime. Michael's breath crystallized in the frigid air as he sprinted toward his rented cabin, each exhalation hanging like a ghost in the moonlight. The scent of pine needles and damp earth filled his lungs, but beneath it lingered something else. The faint, metallic tang of ozone. His boots crunched through frozen undergrowth, the sound echoing too loudly in the unnatural quiet of the mountain night. He arranges the photographs not by date, but by the subject's apparent age. The sequence reveals an undeniable, horrifying truth. The village wasn't frozen in time. It was moving through it in reverse. Its inhabitants were born old, perhaps emerging from the graveyard soil, and aged backwards toward infancy. It was a closed loop. The photographs were a catastrophic error. They documented the inversion, proving these people had lived for centuries, cycling backwards through time. The air grew heavy with the scent of old paper and decay as the villagers watched, their eyes reflecting centuries of knowledge. The founders in the portraits were the people at the party, the same faces staring back across impossible gulfs of time. They were guarding their secret, a blasphemy that defied God and nature. The air in the room grew thick, carrying the scent of damp earth and something metallic. A soft, patient knock sounded at the cabin door, distinct and unhurried. His breath caught. He gathered the photos, their edges feeling brittle and cold against his skin. He had to get out. As he pried open the back window, the frigid night air seeped in, carrying the scent of damp earth and something metallic. And there they stood in the moonlit orchard, dozens of them, forming a silent, perfect semicircle. Stern faces of adults, blank stares of children, all utterly motionless, watching. Lantern light carved pale circles in the gloom, revealing the severe woman at the forefront, her grip tight on little Sarah's hand. Her voice cut through the damp, still air, carrying a note of grim finality. The scent of old paper and dust clung to the space between them. "The photographs, Mr. Thorne," she demanded, her words not a request but a command that settled with a palpable weight. "They are not yours. They are echoes that should fade." Michael's voice was a dry rasp, choked by the metallic taste of fear. "What are you?" The woman offered a smile that held the weight of forgotten centuries. "We are the reminder," she whispered, the sound like pages turning in an empty library, "that every story has a beginning, a middle, and an end. We simply read ours backwards. Now, the pictures." Reluctantly, Michael passed the stack through the window. The woman walked to a prepared fire pit, the damp earth squelching beneath her boots. One by one, she fed the photographs into the hungry flames. The villagers' gazes remained fixed, their expressions inscrutable masks. As the final photograph, the 1972 portrait of young Sarah caught the flame, Michael's world constricted. In the fire's wavering light, the image didn't merely burn, it reversed through time. The 7-year-old's face blurred into a middle-aged woman, then withered into an ancient crone, before crumbling into nothing but ash. The photographic evidence had vanished into the ether, leaving nothing but a hollow absence. Yet, in his pocket, Michael's phone remained an unwitting witness, its recording function silently active. The air in his present-day apartment grew thick, with the scent of stale dust and something faintly metallic. Every surface felt unnervingly cold to the touch, as if the warmth had been leached from the room itself. Michael looked haunted, aged beyond his years. He played the audio file on his laptop. The crackle of fire, then a woman's voice whispering, we simply read hours backwards. The words hung in the air, thick with implication. A metallic scent, like ozone after a storm, seemed to cling to the room. Michael left Coven's Hollow at dawn. No one stopped him. The streets were empty. The only sound, the distant drip of melting frost. He carried the weight of that whispered phrase with him, a cold knot tightening in his chest as he disappeared into the morning mist. He published a paper on anomalous burial practices in rural Vermont, never mentioning the photographs he desperately tried to forget. Last week, another package arrived at his doorstep, its damp cardboard smelling faintly of ozone and iron. His hands trembled as he peeled back the tape, the sticky residue clinging to his fingers. Inside lay a single photograph that froze him in place, a primal dread taking hold as he recognized the same twisted roots and disturbed soil. No return address. Inside was a single, modern, glossy digital print. The photograph was a candid shot, taken from a distance with a long lens. The glossy surface felt cold and slick under his fingers. A metallic scent, like ozone after a storm, seemed to rise from the paper. The photo showed Michael asleep at his desk, the laptop's glow painting his face pale. It was dated 2 days before the package arrived. On the back, the same jagged handwriting, but the message had changed. It no longer warned, "They are going the wrong way." Now, it declared with terrible clarity, quote, "We are coming the right way, and we see you, Michael. You've entered the narrative, but where does your part conclude? And where did it truly begin?" A faint, metallic scent, like ozone after a storm, hangs in the air as the temperature drops. From the speakers, a slow, reversed melody begins to play, its notes warping and growing subtly louder. Then, without warning, the melody cuts to absolute silence, leaving only the oppressive weight of the unseen.
Curious? Subscribe and step through the next anomaly.